Hi there, greetings from Flanders, the northern region of Belgium. Right now I'm at the beach in Ostend, one of the most popular seaside resorts at the Flemish coastline. In summertime, these wide sandy beaches are bustling with activities. But on this sunny, cold winter's day, as today, going for a swim or sunbathing is not the ideal option. However, Ostend has a lot more to offer. Let's go and find out. Let me take you back to the turn of the 20th century, the Belle Époque, a time in which a famous inhabitant of Ostend walked these streets. I'm talking about painter James Ensor. The house where he lived and worked, as from 1917 until his death, has been kept completely intact and turned into an interactive museum. And it's just around the corner. I've arranged a meeting with painter and cartoonist Herzele, who is not only a big fan of Ensor, but also a proud Ostend inhabitant. Let's go inside, and I'm very curious to find out which stories he will be able to tell us about Ensor. Herzele, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Very happy that you found time to welcome us in the Ensor house.
No, pleasure. Well, as you perhaps know, I was born on the same day as James Ensor, so that already makes for a link, of course, with the great man. I'm an artist myself. I'm sort of in the same profession as James Ensor. I make comic figures, you know, it's very funny what I do. So this is the world of James Ensor indeed. He bought this house, or he inherited this house in 1917 actually. So most of his works, his important works, were made 50 meters further there in the Van Nissegemlaan.
Okay.
But he bought this shop here. This is a shell shop run by his aunt Mimi and by his mother. They were both shop owners. We see the shells, we see the masks, you know,
So that's like two of his recurrent themes in his works?
Yes, of course. He's very impregnated in Ostend, in the sea, you know, marine. In fact, you can see it back in his oeuvre, because it's the colors of a shell. If you look at a fish or a shell, you see these impressionistic colors. You see blues, hues of green, you see pink. He has a formidable pink, you know. He has lots of white. And you see the colors of these shells back in his oeuvre. That makes his oeuvre. This is the great man himself.
This is the man.
Yes. He's already probably in his 60s there. He bought the house here when he was 57 actually.
So who is this great man?
He is actually British from origin. His father was a Brit, a true Brit. Who came to Ostend because Ostend had become an important town from the 1840s onwards because of tourism.
And is it a love story? Did his father fell in love with a local person here?
Yes. His mother is called Hageman. She's an Ostend girl. And then this guy was born in 13th of April, 1860. On a Friday, he says, you know, it's the
Friday
13th. Friday the 13th. So, and then he becomes a painter against all odds because nobody in the family is an artist.
Okay.
And he becomes a huge, important talent. He's young, he's like 14, 15, 16 years old, and he already makes marvelous paintings. Well, he was totally misunderstood. At the end of the 19th century, he tried to sell his whole oeuvre that he had made until then. He was only 40 years old at that moment, and he had already amassed a huge corpus of paintings. But the town of Ostend didn't want it. And then, of course, after 1900, he becomes a baron, he gets a title, and he becomes an important figure. He's particularly admired by the avant-garde.
Okay.
You know, they love him because he's like a precursor of futurism, Dadaism, surrealism. It's all in his works, and he knows it, you know. He knows how important he is. And then the end of his life, he's like this gentleman living in this house here with his valets. And actually, my parents, when in 1950, when James Ensor died in 49, came to this house and were guided around by this valet gesture.
It really feels like a Kunstkammer in a way.
Yes, certainly it does. These are the old carnival masks. Carnival is an important thing for James Ensor. He takes that as his main theme. People don't have their faces, they wear a mask. That's something that later in psychology becomes important. If you think of Freud and Jung, they talk about the persona. You wear a mask. Everybody wears a mask.
So what can visitors expect coming to see the Ensor house?
Well, it's quite amazing. You have here the house of an let's say a 19th century artist. His workshop is still intact, in fact. This is the Ensor house, and they've built now a gorgeous, excellent museum around it, which is very educational. Yeah. There's a fantastic work upstairs. It's the oyster eater.
Well, I suggest we go and have a look.
Well, let's do that. This is a timeline.
Okay.
19th century, 20th century, and this is a great wall. These are basically self-portraits by Ensor. We see here the famous self-portrait with the flower hat. He used to make like a self-portrait, a painting, and then 10 years later he added this hat.
So originally it wasn't there?
Yes, he tends to rework, to Photoshop his own works.
So where are we heading now?
Well, this is the authentic part of the museum. This is the great saloon.
I love the blue wallpaper.
The wallpaper and the tapestry is fantastic, the carpet. You know, when you have his organ here, the organ he used to play a lot. But look at this here. This is a copy of his most famous work, the entry of Christ into Brussels. We see Jesus Christ here on his donkey.
Uh-huh.
And we have this slogan there, Vive la Sociale. It seems like some sort of socialist agenda or something. But what did James Ensor try to do? He tried to make a huge painting in the tradition of the 19th century. You have to think of Ingres, Delacroix, Courbet, all these great masters of the 19th century. They made huge paintings.
What's in the next room?
Well, it has a lot of paintings. Let's have a look.
Again,
well,
beautiful wallpaper.
Yes, it is. This is just extraordinary. Look at the signature, James Ensor, 1882. That means he was just 22 years old. He's born in 1860. Yeah. He was only 22 years old, and he makes this extraordinary painting for an exhibition in Brussels, you know. It's a family member, I would guess, maybe his sister, eating oysters. It's called The Oyster Eater. It has a sort of an erotic appeal, of course, because when you eat oysters, it's supposed to be an aphrodisiac. You have a gorgeous still life of wine bottles, aperitif, the lemon, and then this is a fascinating part of the painting because it's left unfinished.
Okay.
It's left unfinished. Yeah. He's not the guy who makes these perfect paintings. He hates that, you know. He loves the roughness of a painting. And then later, of course, he moves to these extraordinary artworks, you know, unique in the history of Western art. These masks, you know, they speak so much to us. And then even this, the original is in the Museum of Antwerp. It's extraordinary, isn't it? It's almost abstract. Yeah. It's the fall of the angels.
It looks quite hellish.
Yes, it's extraordinary, isn't it? It's just white and red, and this is a work that he worked over and over and over. He could never stop working, going over his older works, you know. Yeah.
And this house, these rooms were also his safe cocoon.
Yes, it's quite amazing that somebody can sort of make an image of a town and sort of grasp that town. He has everything, you know. He grasps it totally, with an accurate eye. Who has done it? Nobody's done it before or after. It's amazing, you know.
For those who want to learn more about Ensor and his link to the city of Ostend, there's this brand new self-guided walk you can download online. The tour is available in Nederlands, Deutsch, Français, English and Espanol. It's free of charge if you combine it with a visit to the Ensor house, or a one-time €5.50 payment if you only decide to do the walk. You will have a 3-kilometer walk through town with 13 stops where you will learn all about Ensor, his friends, the time in which he lived, and there's plenty of references to Ostend of today. If you want to see real paintings and drawings by Ensor, you should head to Musée, which is the last stop on the Ensor walk. Musée is the art museum by the sea and houses a beautiful collection of Belgian art from 1880 to the present. The museum is currently reorganizing its collection and will open again later this year in June. At Musée, you will also find works by another famous Ostend painter, Léon Spilliaert. But what else has Ostend to offer? Els from Visit Ostend will take us on a private tour and show us some highlights. Hi, Els.
Hi, Pedro.
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. How are you?
Very well, and you?
Welcome in Ostend.
I'm very excited. Can you tell us where we are?
Yes. When there's one place where you can still experience the maritime character of Ostend, our city by the sea, it's here at the fish market.
So these are the famous grey shrimps, right?
Yes, indeed.
And what's so special about them?
It's a real delicacy, one of the best delicacies the sea has to offer. It does need some exercise to peel them down. And,
shall we have a try?
Ostend is also famous for its fish, flatfish, for example.
I'll have an attempt at peeling a shrimp, and if I remember well, I have to push, I have to turn the tail, so I take the head off.
Yes. You are a natural talent.
But no, it should go in one.
Yes.
In one twist. Voilà, but this is it.
This is
the grey shrimp.
yes, indeed.
I'll have one. Want one?
No, thank you very much.
I'll take these home then.
There's certainly no lack of tourist attractions in Ostend. Even in winter period, there are a lot of things to do that will make your stay worthwhile.
Okay. And this is one of them.
And this is one of them. I take you back in time.
Okay.
The 3rd of April 1995. This Iceland vessel entered Ostend Harbour for the last time. The crew disembarked, swallowed hard, and never looked back.
And never went to sea again.
It's docked on the quay. After 13 years, it had a second life as a museum ship, so you can experience the hard work of the fishermen and dangerous work as well. You can experience that in the museum. It wouldn't be a city by the sea if we only had one vessel. So there's more.
Okay, I'm curious. Let's go.
Let's continue our tour. We can continue by visiting our second museum ship. This three-master is called the Mercator.
This brings back childhood memories, Els.
Really?
Yes, I had family living in Ostend, and each time as a child when we came to visit them and we passed by car, I was always impressed by the immense size of the ship, and I always wanted to visit it.
It's impressive indeed. It's a nice story. Nowadays it is a nautical museum, very authentic, and formerly it was a training ship for the Belgian merchant navy. And in 1956 the remains of Father Damien was repatriated from Molokai to Belgium.
And the vessel is still original and you can visit it.
If you like the atmosphere of authentic vessels, I really can recommend our yearly event in May, Ostend at Anchor. And then the others, everywhere you see is our authentic vessels, not so big as this one, but yeah, it's a really nice atmosphere. Vessels of national and international.
All sail ships.
All
sail ships.
Indeed, yes.
And you can visit them.
It's a public event, it's for free. We have yearly 100,000 visitors coming to visit it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But this is the masterpiece of them all.
It is.
Shall we climb up?
Yes. Be careful.
So right in front of us we have the railway station.
Indeed, the railway station.
So actually here everything comes together. You have the train line to the inland, you've got the marina and the exit to the sea.
Indeed. And then you have the main shopping street over there.
What's next on our agenda?
Well, I feel the need to take a real boat trip.
I say yes.
So we are going to Fort Napoleon.
That's
and,
another tourist attraction.
It is. And the easiest way to get there is by taking this ferry. There's every 10 minutes there's a navette between the city center and the east bank.
And it's free of charge.
It is free of charge. There's something special about Ostend. It has some kind of irresistible attraction. Ostend is emotion. Ostend is passion.
And there's a famous American singer who surprisingly stayed here for a while, right?
Indeed.
Can you tell us a bit more?
Marvin Gaye lived in Ostend for more than 1 year.
Wow.
Yes. He arrived in Ostend the 14th of February of 1991. You can discover the story of his life and his comeback, let's say, with a digital walk. This is one of the examples of the Crystal Ship Festival. This is one of the huge murals. It's artwork by Leon Gaye. And you can download a digital walk that guides you around the 60 murals, yes, in the app stores.
Fort Napoleon is set in the dunes close to the mouth of the harbour. It was built at the beginning of the 19th century to protect Ostend from a possible British attack from the sea. It has recently been restored and is open to the public. It serves as a museum, event venue, and houses a restaurant with a beautiful view over the dunes, beach and North Sea.
Welcome to Fort Napoleon, one of 3 forts that the great French conqueror Napoleon Bonaparte intended to build around Ostend. These walls have witnessed more than 200 years of stories. If you stand close enough to hear them, the walls will whisper stories to you about history, architecture, and life in the fort. But above all, be sure to enjoy the peace and quiet here.
I hope you enjoyed the visit.
Yes, Els, this was a very interesting way to finish the day. We learned some history ranging from the early 19th century up till today. I was very amazed also by the art I discovered in Ostend today, Ensor,
Nice
the
to
Ensor
hear
house,
that.
the Ensor walk. And not to forget, I have my portion of fresh shrimps to eat tonight, which I will have with a good cold glass of Rodenbach beer.
That's a good idea.
Thank you once again for showing me around today.
It was my pleasure.